When her first love died, my wife jumped from the cruise ship to end her life on our honeymoon. That was when I realized she had never let go of Tyler. Reborn back to our teenage years, she didn't hesitate to shake off my hand and walk straight toward her first love. I watched them leave together, then turned away. From that moment on, our lives became two parallel lines that would never cross. 10 years later, we meet again at a lavish gala in Rivendell. She was now the rising star of high society, proudly clinging to Tyler's arm as they made their entrance. When she saw me crash the gala in search of someone, she couldn't help but advise me. Why are you still obsessed with me? Even if you've waited 10 years, I'll never love you. I ignored her and pulled my son out of the corner where he had been sneaking cake. Her eyes instantly redden as she grabs my hand in a panic. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Didn't you say you'd only ever love me in this life? I never thought I'd see Regina again in this lifetime. At a high society gala in Rivendell, she stood in the center of the crowd with her arm linked with Tyler's. Her smile was elegant and refined, nothing like the girl I once knew. The people surrounding them all wore flattering smiles, their voices full of praise. Miss Peterson, you're incredible. Landing a state-level project at such a young age, your future is limitless. And this must be your partner, right? What a perfect couple. You two are made for each other. Tyler glanced at Regina with tenderness in his eyes and said softly, we're planning to get married by the end of the year. If you're free, we'd love for you all to join us at the wedding. Congratulations echoed all around. Then someone asked curiously, I heard you've been together for 10 years. Why wait until now to get married? That question caught my attention, too. In her last life, Regina loved Tyler so much that she was willing to die for him. After she was reborn, she broke up with me right away. I always thought they would have married soon after graduation. Yet here they were, still without a marriage certificate. For a brief moment, Regina's smile stiffened. Then she quickly covered it up with a graceful laugh. Career first, then family. I just want to give Tyler the best life possible. She gazed at him with such affection that it nearly overflowed. Back when we were together in our previous life, I proposed to her several times. Only after her family pressured her into it did she say yes. It turned out that love and indifference were worlds apart. I was about to leave when I caught sight of a small figure from the corner of my eye. Instinctively, I followed. Crash! Champagne spilled across the floor. A waiter holding a tray glared at me in annoyance. Where did you come running from? Don't you watch where you're going? His voice was loud enough to draw everyone's attention. Seeing my face, Regina was stunned. Daniel, what are you doing here? I lowered my head and apologized to the waiter. I'm here looking for someone. Someone nearby asked curiously. Miss Peterson, you know him? Her hand tightened slightly around her glass, her expression darkening. Yes, he's my ex. A whisper broke out from the crowd. Wait, you two dated? But you and Tyler have been together for 10 years. I thought you were each other's first love. Tyler's smile faltered slightly. Still holding Regina's hand, he said lightly. That was years ago. We took a break after a nasty fight. Who hasn't made mistakes when they were young? Regina said nothing. Her gaze flicked past me and landed on the waiter. Put the damages on my tab. Let him go. Her tone was calm and distant. Aside from that brief moment of surprise, she didn't spare me a single unnecessary glance. It was clear she wanted to draw a line between us in front of Tyler. The waiter quickly shoved me toward the exit. Miss Peterson's doing you a favor, but don't count on it happening again. His eyes raked over my wrinkled sleepwear with disdain. You don't belong here. Get out. I shook off his hand and said nicely. I'm just here to find someone. Once I do, I'll leave on my own. The waiter rolled his eyes. I've seen plenty like you who try to climb the social ladder. People like you don't belong at this kind of event. Keep this up, and I'll get security right now. Wait. Regina's voice came from behind him, holding the hem of her gown. She sighed and looked helplessly at me. He came here for me. Let me speak with him. Tyler slipped his arm around her shoulders, making his claim loud and clear. Daniel, he said, his voice dripping with disdain. Regina and I are getting married soon. Anyone with a shred of dignity wouldn't show up to bother their ex by now. Regina frowned, her tone turning sharp as she tried to persuade me. Why are you still obsessed with me? Even if you've waited 10 years, I'll never love you. Being with you was a mistake. Now that I finally have a chance to correct that mistake, I hope you can let the past go. Tyler looked me up and down with mockery in his eyes. I get why you came crawling back. Regina's a well-known businesswoman now. People like you always want a piece of the pie. He made an assumption based on my wrinkled clothes and said condescendingly. You went to a top school, didn't you? How'd you end up like this? If I were you, I wouldn't even dare to show my face. Regina frowned deeper, pulling out her phone with a touch of impatience. If you think breaking up was unfair to you, I can make it up to you now. How about 50 grand? She tapped on her phone then suddenly froze. You deleted me from your contacts? I couldn't understand why she had reacted so strongly. Wasn't it normal to delete an ex's contact after a breakup? Besides, I have someone at home who's notoriously jealous. If she found out I still had my ex-girlfriend's info, she'd give me hell for it. Weren't you the one who told me not to come looking for you ever again after we broke up? Regina's expression froze at my words. She looked like she wanted to say something, but stayed silent in the end. I added flatly. And I don't need your money either. Her face darkened further. After being turned down again and again, her tone went cold. Why are you still pretending? If you weren't so pathetic right now, I wouldn't even bother saying a word to you. Tyler comforted her gently. Regina, you're just too kind. A guy like this isn't worth your time. Look at him, all pathetic and hopeless. A complete loser. His tone dripped with disdain, as if he'd forgotten that 10 years ago, he was even worse. In our last life, Regina's family had opposed her relationship with Tyler for good reason. He was nothing more than a delinquent, constantly in trouble with the law. The first time I met Regina in college, she had just bailed Tyler out of the county jail, and was being pressured by her family to break up with him. During her lowest days, I stayed by her side and helped her through it. Since she loved photography, I used the money I'd originally set aside for starting a business to buy her professional equipment worth tens of thousands. through the heat of summer and the freezing winter. I carried that heavy gear as I trailed behind her, just to see her smile from the heart. Who would have thought that Regina would be the one to confess to me first? I knew about her past with Tyler, having seen her occasionally staring at old photos, lost in thought. So when she confessed, I asked her seriously, "Have you really moved on from Tyler?" Back then, she held me tightly and said firmly, "That's all in the past. I finally see who truly cares about me. Daniel, I love you. Let's be together." We dated for 7 years. Even her best friend was surprised. She loved Tyler so much, I didn't think you two would last. However, no one knew how many times Regina had refused my proposals in private. "Daniel, I don't believe in marriage. Can't we just stay like this forever?" It wasn't until her parents pressured her endlessly that she finally agreed. Then, during our honeymoon, news came that Tyler had been in a car accident. Regina leaped into the sea from the cruise, leaving behind only a note. Every word on that note was about Tyler, not a single line for me. At the very end, written in blood, she wrote, "Tyler, all I ever wanted was to be your bride. I'm coming to you now." That was the moment my love for her turned completely to ashes. So, when I was reborn and Regina wanted to break up, I didn't stop her. After all, I knew there was no changing it. I thought deleting all her contact info and watching her reunite with Tyler would mean we'd never cross paths again. Yet here she was in front of me tonight. I was ready to leave, but Tyler refused to let it go. He insisted on humiliating me in front of everyone. To get close to Regina, you really went all out, didn't you? Look at you dressed like that. I bet you don't even have a real job. Tell you what, I can introduce you to a position here at the hotel. Learn how to serve people, and you could make 5 figures a month. Someone nearby jumped in, eager to flatter him. This is a luxury hotel in Rivendell's prime district. Working here would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. Shouldn't you be grateful? I found myself surrounded, unable to leave. With no other choice, I said calmly, "Thanks, but I already have a job. I'm a photographer." The moment I said the word, Regina's eyes snapped toward me. Something complicated flickered in her gaze, her lips moving as if to speak. However, she turned her head away and said coldly, "Photography? How much money can that make? A hobby doesn't put food on the table. Look, since we all know each other, I can help arrange a proper job for you." I froze. In that instant, I realized she had completely misunderstood me. I didn't love photography because I still had feelings for Regina. The truth was that all my feelings for her had already died when I saw her suicide note in my last life. It was only after I was reborn that I realized all my savings had already been spent on photography equipment. I couldn't resell it online. So, I picked it up myself. In the end, I fell in love with it. This time around, I wasn't doing it to please anyone. I was doing it for myself. I gave Regina another polite, but distant refusal. "My hobby earns me more than enough. Thanks for your concern." Her expression tightened, anger flashing in her eyes. "I'm offering you an opportunity. Don't come crying to me later when you regret it." I stayed silent. I didn't bother to tell her that my photos were regularly published in national magazines, and even top international journals. The royalties alone weren't any less than her income. However, if I said that, she'd probably just think I was bragging, especially since I was standing there in wrinkled pajamas. It was all my son's fault. He insisted I play in the sandbox with him, and when I turned around, he had run downstairs. I didn't have time to change before I rushed after him. Just as I was thinking of leaving, the same waiter noticed something. He pointed at my clothes. "Balenciaga? Where'd you pick that up? Don't tell me you're a janitor here who stole it from a guest room." I frowned. "Why can't it be mine?" Tyler let out a mocking laugh. "Yours? Can you even afford it? What kind of rich person would run around looking like a slob?" He pinched his nose theatrically. "Dirty too. Probably didn't even wash it before throwing it on." Regina's brows knitted so tightly it looked like she might crush a fly between them. "Daniel, look at yourself. Do you still want to argue?" I ignored them and looked straight at the waiter. "If you really think I stole something, then call the police." I knew he was only trying to curry favor with Tyler by stepping on me. Sure enough, his arrogance deflated immediately. He muttered under his breath, "If it weren't for some very important guests at the hotel tonight, I'd have already called the cops." Tyler's eyes lit up, and he quickly cut in. "Important guests? You mean the Brown's daughter, right? I heard she's here with her family, staying at this hotel." Regina nodded, her eyes flashing with excitement. If our company's project could get the Browns' support, that would be incredible. The mention of the Browns was like pouring water on hot oil, stirring up conversation. "Isn't that why we all came tonight? Hoping to meet Ms. Brown? Her family owns this entire building. I heard she married young in her early 20s and already has kids. I wonder which family she married into." As people gossiped, the hotel manager suddenly rushed in, sweating and anxious, followed by a group of staff. "Everyone, have you seen a 7-year-old boy? About this tall." His eyes scanned the crowd with urgency as he wiped off his sweat. The guests caught on quickly. With such a fuss, there was only one possibility. Could it be the Browns' young master? I heard he just turned 7 this year. The ballroom buzzed with excitement as people scrambled to help search. After all, whoever found the boy might get the chance to connect with the Browns. Even Regina and Tyler eagerly joined the search, leaving me alone. I scanned the chaos, then walked calmly toward the dessert table. Sure enough, my son was there, his face smeared with whipped cream. I stretched out my hand. "Come here." He jumped in fright, hugging the table leg tightly. "I don't want to." I was about to pull him over when Tyler appeared out of nowhere, stepping between us with righteous indignation. "Daniel, what are you doing? Even if you want to cozy up to the Browns, you don't take it out on a child." Regina hurried over, her eyes filled with disappointment. "Daniel, I didn't think you'd stoop this low, using a child just for money and connections." The waiter jumped at the chance to accuse me again, grabbing the manager. "That's the guy. He crashed the gala and even stole a guest's clothes." The manager's face darkened immediately. He waved the security forward. "Arrest this thief and send him straight to the police. If he frightens the young master, none of you will keep your jobs." A triumphant glint flashed in Tyler's eyes. He crouched down, smiling warmly at the Browns' heir. Come here, little one. Uncle Tyler will protect you. My son ignored him, though. Instead, under everyone's stunned gaze, he carefully reached out and grabbed my hand. Daddy, I know I was wrong. The silence in the ballroom was so heavy you could have heard a pin drop. It wasn't a comfortable silence. It was the kind that suffocates, thick with disbelief and the shattering of assumptions. Tyler's hand, still extended in a gesture of benevolent rescue, froze mid-air. His warm, practiced smile twitched, threatening to collapse into confusion. Regina's disappointment, so carefully curated a moment ago, fractured into something raw and unreadable. Daddy. Tyler echoed, the word tasting strange in his mouth. He looked from the boy, face smeared with chocolate ganache and strawberry coulis, to me, standing there in my wrinkled, apparently stolen Balenciaga pajamas. He called you, Daddy, I sighed, pulling a handkerchief from my pocket to wipe a blob of cream from my son's cheek. Yes, Tyler. Generally, that's what children call their fathers. Unless things have changed in the last 10 years. The hotel manager, who had been about to order his security team to tackle me, looked like he was having a stroke. He stared at the boy, the young Master Brown he had been frantically searching for, clinging to the leg of the man he was about to arrest. Mr. Peterson? The manager stammered, addressing me by the surname he assumed I had because of Regina, but then correcting himself. Sir? Is this your child? Leo, I said sternly, looking down at my son. What did Mommy say about running off during events? Leo looked at his shoes, which were custom-made Italian leather, currently sticky with something sugary. She said if I run off, I have to eat broccoli for a week. 2 weeks now, I corrected. Daniel. Regina's voice cut through the fog of confusion. She stepped forward, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. Her face was pale, her eyes darting between me and Leo. What is going on? Whose child is this? You stole a child? I laughed. It was a dry, humorless sound. Regina, you really have a limited imagination. First I stole clothes. Now I steal children. What's next? I stole the moon. But, she gestured helplessly at Leo. He called you daddy. Because I am his father. That's impossible. Tyler snapped, regaining his composure. He stood up, brushing imaginary dust from his expensive suit. You? A father to the Brown's grandson? Don't make me laugh. You're a photographer. A hobbyist. You probably kidnapped the kid to hold for ransom. The crowd murmured in agreement. It was a more palatable narrative. The poor, obsessed ex-boyfriend kidnapping the wealthy heir. It fit their worldview. Security. Tyler barked, taking charge. Grab him. He's clearly deranged. 2 burly guards stepped forward, hands on their batons. Stop. The voice didn't come from me. It came from the top of the grand staircase. Everyone turned. Descending the stairs was a woman who radiated authority like heat from a sun. She wore a simple black evening gown that probably cost more than Tyler's car. Her hair was swept back, revealing a face that was strikingly beautiful and terrifyingly cold. Except when she looked at me. Honey, she called out, her voice softening. Did you find Leo? I told him to wait in the suite, but you know how he gets when he smells cake. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. It was Serafina Brown, the only daughter of the Brown Empire, the ice queen of the business world, and my wife. She walked straight up to us, ignoring the gawking socialites, the sweating manager, and the stunned duo of Regina and Tyler. She placed a hand on my arm and looked down at Leo. 2 weeks of broccoli? She asked me. I was thinking 3, I said. 3 it is. She looked up at the manager. Mr. Henderson, why are your security guards threatening my husband? The manager turned a color that didn't exist in nature. Husband? Ms. Brown, this gentleman is your husband. Yes, Serafina said, her voice dropping a few degrees. Daniel, the father of my child. Is there a problem with his pajamas? He rushed down because he was worried about our son. I would think a luxury hotel would prioritize family safety over dress codes. No problem at all, Ms. Brown. The manager was practically bowing. A misunderstanding. A terrible misunderstanding. Serafina turned her gaze to Regina and Tyler. Regina looked as if she had been slapped. Her eyes were wide, fixed on Serafina's hand resting possessively on my arm. You, Regina whispered. You married Serafina Brown? Yes, I said simply. Tyler looked like he had swallowed a lemon whole. But you said you were a photographer. I am, I said. Serafina likes my work. She funded my first gallery showing. It's how we met. Serafina smiled at me, a genuine, warm smile that the public rarely saw. He's brilliant. Much more talented than he gives himself credit for. She turned back to Regina, her expression cooling instantly. And you are. Regina opened her mouth but no sound came out. Regina Peterson. Tyler interjected quickly, trying to salvage the situation. And I'm Tyler Vance. We were old friends of Daniel's. Friends? Serafina raised an eyebrow. Daniel has never mentioned you. The insult landed perfectly. I hadn't mentioned them because they didn't matter. We dated, Regina managed to choke out. A long time ago. Before. Ah, Serafina said, losing interest. The ex. Well, thank you for finding our son. Come on, Daniel. Leo needs a bath and you need to change. The gala is actually starting soon. She took my hand, interlacing her fingers with mine. The warmth of her touch grounded me. As we walked away, I felt Regina's gaze burning into my back. I didn't turn around. The suite was quiet, save for the splashing sounds coming from the bathroom where the nanny was scrubbing Leo clean. Serafina sat on the edge of the bed, watching me change into a tuxedo. So, she said, her voice amused. That was her, I confirmed, adjusting my cufflinks. She's pretty, Serafina noted objectively, in a sort of fragile, wilting flower way. I chuckled. She's not fragile. She's stubborn. She looked at you like you were a ghost. To her I am. I'm the ghost of a past she thought she discarded. Seeing me successful, seeing me with you, it breaks her narrative. Serafina stood up and walked over to me, fixing my bow tie. Do you still care? I looked into her eyes. They were clear, intelligent, and fierce. In my last life, I had died inside when Regina jumped. In this life, Serafina had breathed life back into me. Not by saving me, but by challenging me. By seeing me not as a backup plan, but as a partner. No, I said honestly. I don't care about her. But I do care about the fact that she tried to humiliate me in front of our son. Serafina's eyes narrowed. Yes, the janitor comment. And the boyfriend, Tyler? He seems like a piece of work. He's a parasite, I said. He feeds on her validation. And she feeds on his neediness. It's a perfect, toxic ecosystem. Well, Serafina smoothed the lapels of my jacket. They want to work with Brown Enterprises. Regina's proposal for the waterfront development is on my desk. It's actually decent. She's capable, I admitted, when she's not blinded by him. Do you want me to reject it? I thought about it. In a revenge novel, this would be the moment I say yes. Crush her dreams. Bankrupt her. But I looked at my reflection. I looked at my wife. I thought about my son giggling in the bath. No, I said. If the proposal is good, take it. Business is business. But, make sure she knows exactly who she's working for. And make sure Tyler knows he's not welcome anywhere near the project. Serafina grinned. It was a wicked, sharp thing. Oh, I like that. Let them succeed, but on our terms. Let them see every day just how far above them you are. She kissed me. You look handsome. Now let's go downstairs and break some hearts. The gala was in full swing when we returned. This time, I entered not as a crashing intruder, but as the co-host. The hush that fell over the room was satisfying. I walked with Serafina, greeting business partners, politicians, and celebrities. I saw the way people looked at me now. The disdain was gone, replaced by curiosity and envy. Who is he? I heard whispers. Serafina's husband? The photographer? I hear his prints sell for 6 figures. We made our way to the center of the room. Regina and Tyler were there, hovering near the champagne fountain, looking unsure of whether to stay or flee. Serafina steered us directly toward them. Miss Peterson, Serafina said, her voice carrying easily. Regina jumped slightly. Miss Brown. I didn't expect to see you again so soon. I've reviewed your proposal for the waterfront, Serafina said, cutting to the chase. Regina's eyes lit up. And it shows promise. Brown Enterprises is interested in a partnership. Regina let out a breath she seemed to have been holding for 10 years. Thank you. You won't regret it. Tyler and I have put everything into this. However, Serafina interrupted, her gaze sliding to Tyler like he was a stain on the carpet. There are conditions. Conditions? Tyler asked, bristling slightly. The contract will be with Peterson Architects alone. Mr. Vance will have no role, no title, and no access to the site or the financials. Brown Enterprises has a strict policy regarding unvetted personnel. Tyler's face flushed red. Unvetted? I'm her partner. In life and business. Then she can choose, Serafina said coolly. The project or the partner. But not both on my payroll. Regina looked at Tyler, then at Serafina. I saw the calculation in her eyes. This project was her ticket to the big leagues. It was what she had worked for since she was reborn. Regina, Tyler warned, gripping her arm. Tell her to shove it. We don't need her charity. But Regina didn't say that. She gently, but firmly, removed Tyler's hand from her arm. I accept, she said to Serafina. Tyler stared at her, betrayed. Regina. It's business, Tyler, she whispered, but we all heard it. It's just business. You can stay home. I'll handle the work. Stay home. Tyler laughed incredulously. Like a housewife? While you play big shot with your ex. He turned his venom on me. This is your doing, isn't it? You whispered in her ear. You're trying to break us up. I took a sip of my champagne. Tyler, I haven't said a word about you to my wife. Your incompetence speaks for itself. Tyler lunged. It was clumsy and slow. Before he could get within a foot of me, security had him. Get off me, he screamed as they dragged him away. Regina, do something. Regina stood frozen. She didn't move. She watched the love of her 2 lives being hauled out of the gala, shouting obscenities. When silence returned, she looked at me. Her eyes were teary, but there was a hardness there too. Are you happy? She asked me quietly. I'm indifferent, I said. Congratulations on the contract, Miss Peterson. Don't disappoint my wife. I turned and walked away, Serafina on my arm. Over the next 6 months, I saw Regina often. Too often. Because of the project, she was frequently at Brown Enterprises headquarters. I had a studio on the top floor, a perk of being the boss's husband, where I worked on my edits. She would find excuses to come up. Just checking the lighting for the architectural renders, she'd say, standing in the doorway of my studio. The lighting is fine, Regina. I'd say without looking up from my monitor. You've changed, she said one rainy afternoon. She walked into the room and sat on the sofa uninvited. 10 years will do that. No, I mean you're harder, colder. The Daniel I knew was soft. He would have never let Tyler be humiliated like that. I spun my chair around. The Daniel you knew died, Regina. You killed him. She flinched. I didn't kill you. We just broke up. In your last life, I said softly. You jumped off a ship. You left me a note written in blood for another man. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? Regina's face went white. She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing. You remember? I remember everything, I said. I remember how I spent years mourning you. How I blamed myself. How I wished I could have been enough. And then I remember waking up at 18, seeing you run to him, and realizing I was never even in the running. She stood up, trembling. Daniel, I didn't know you remembered. I thought if I just cut ties quickly you'd move on. I did it for you, so you wouldn't waste your life on me again. Don't rewrite history, I snapped. You didn't do it for me. You did it because you wanted a head start with him. You wanted to save him from his fate. And look where it got you. I love him, she cried. I've always loved him. Do you? I asked. Or do you love the idea of him? The bad boy you couldn't save? Because from where I'm standing, you just sold him out for a contract. I did that for our future. No. You did it because you're finally realizing that love doesn't pay the bills. And Tyler? He's a bottomless pit, Regina. You know it. You knew it in the last life, and you know it in this one. She looked down at her hands. He's having a hard time. Since the gala. He's drinking. Gambling. And that's my problem because? He borrowed money, she whispered. From loan sharks. He said he was going to invest it, to prove he was better than you. He lost it all. I laughed. Classic Tyler. They're threatening him, Daniel. They're threatening me. I need an advance on the project payment. Please. Just talk to Serafina. Ich zirte her. The audacity was breathtaking. You want me to ask my wife to give you money to pay off your boyfriend's gambling debts? Please, she begged, tears spilling over. I have no one else. My parents won't help. They hate him. I stood up and walked to the door, holding it open. Get out. Daniel. Get out. She left sobbing. I closed the door and leaned against it. I felt a strange sense of closure. The pedestal I had placed her on in my previous life had long since crumbled, but now, even the rubble was being swept away. 2 days later, the news broke. Rising architects scandal. Partner arrested for embezzlement. I read the article on my tablet over breakfast. Tyler had been caught trying to siphon funds from the Brown Project accounts. He had used Regina's passwords. Because of course she had given them to him. Did you know? Serafina asked, pouring coffee. I knew he was desperate, I said. Regina came to me asking for money. And you didn't tell me? I told her to leave. I didn't think she'd be stupid enough to let him near the accounts after you explicitly forbade it. Serafina sighed. Love makes people stupid. But this is criminal stupidity. What happens to her? She's liable, Serafina said, buttering toast. It was her login. Her fiduciary responsibility. The contract is void. We're pressing charges against him, obviously. But her career? It's over. No one will trust her with a budget again. I felt a pang of pity. Not love, just pity. A waste of talent. A waste of 2 lives. Can we keep her out of jail? I asked. Serafina looked at me. Why? Because she's already in a prison of her own making. Adding bars won't teach her anything she isn't about to learn the hard way. Serafina nodded slowly. Fine. We won't press criminal charges against her for negligence. But we're suing for damages. She'll be bankrupt. Fair enough. That afternoon, I went to the police station. Tyler was being held. Regina was in the waiting room looking like a ghost. When she saw me, she didn't get up. She just stared at the floor. He stole it, she whispered. I was asleep. He took my laptop. I believe you, I said. She looked up, her eyes hollow. You were right. About everything. I know. He blamed me, she said, her voice shaking. When they arrested him, he screamed that it was my fault. That if I made more money, he wouldn't have had to steal. He said he wished I had died on that ship. The cruelty of it hung in the air. The man she had died for, wishing her dead. What will you do now? I asked. I don't know. I've lost everything. My reputation. My money. Him. You still have yourself, I said. Which is more than you had yesterday, when you were defining yourself by him. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a card. It wasn't a check. It was a business card for a small architectural firm in a different city. The owner owes me a favor, I said. It's entry level. Draftsman work. No access to money. But it's a job. Far away from here. Far away from him. She took the card with trembling fingers. Why? Because in another life, you were kind to me when I was a nobody. Consider this debt paid. I turned to leave. Daniel. I stopped. Did you really love me? In that life? More than anything, I said. And that's why I'm glad I don't love you in this one. Goodbye, Regina. 5 years passed. Life with Serafina was an adventure. We traveled. We built things. Leo grew into a smart, kind boy who loved photography as much as I did. I became famous. Not just husband of the heiress famous, but actually respected. My retrospective at the MoMA was a sellout. I didn't hear much about Regina. I knew she had taken the job. I knew she had left Rivendell. Then one day, I received a package in the mail. It was a book. A photo book. The cover was simple. A black and white photo of a lone figure walking down a long, empty road. The title, Parallel Lines. The author, Regina Peterson. I opened it. It wasn't architecture. It was street photography. Gritty, real, and hauntingly beautiful. It captured loneliness, despair, and small, fragile moments of hope. Inside the cover was a handwritten note. To Daniel. You were right. I had to learn to walk alone before I could see the world. Thank you for the camera. I finally bought my own. I smiled. It was good work. What's that? Serafina asked, walking into the studio. A gift, I said, handing her the book. From an old acquaintance. She flipped through it, her critical eye scanning the pages. She's got an eye, Serafina admitted. Not as good as yours, but she's got soul. Yeah, I said. She finally found it. Chapter 10. The gala for my 40th birthday was held in the same hotel where we had met again all those years ago. It was a celebration of life, of success, of love. Serafina made a toast that made me cry. Leo, now 12, took photos of the guests with the Leica I gave him. Late in the evening, I stepped out onto the balcony for some air. The city lights of Rivendell twinkled below. I thought about the 2 timelines. The one where I mourned a ghost, and the one where I became a man. In the distance down on the street, I saw a woman. She was setting up a tripod, photographing the hotel facade. She looked older, dressed in simple, practical clothes. Her hair was cut short. She looked up. Even from this distance, our eyes met. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She just nodded. Acknowledgement. Respect. And then she turned back to her camera, adjusting the focus on her own life. I turned back to the party, to the warmth, to the laughter. Who's out there? Serafina asked, coming to my side and wrapping her arms around my waist. Just a photographer, I said, kissing her forehead. No one we know. We went back inside, leaving the past in the dark, where it belonged. The parallel lines had run their course, stretching out into infinity, never to cross again. And that was exactly how it was meant to be.